Hi, and welcome to your morning espresso business coaching session with Richard Turner, the Essential Entrepreneur. We'll take you through a series of short lessons on how to scale your business while you enjoy your morning coffee. Today we're going to talk about the changing world of physical retail, or as many call it, bricks and mortar retail. We'll look at why many traditional retailers are failing and why the new breed of what I call experienced retailers who understand the changing market are having phenomenal success. We're living in a rapidly changing time, which brings opportunity. But nothing has encountered as much change over the last 20 years than physical retailing. We used to go to the shops for everything, yet now we buy a lot of our day-to-day and not so day-to-day items online, together with a lot of impulse shopping that continually pops up and is targeted to us in our daily feeds, social media feeds. So is there a place still for bricks and mortar retailing when their operating costs are so much higher when compared with online shopping? Many products, though, can only be experienced in person. So hospitality, for instance, food and wine, you need to be there and taste it and experience all that comes with a nice hospitality environment. Finding the right size and being fitted for clothes, for instance, feeling the touch of fabrics on the skin, walking out feeling great. Anything that's sensory, perfumes, for instance, demonstration and education on products. There's so many things that can only be experienced in person that can't be experienced online. So how do you take advantage of that? The big mistake many physical retailers are making is trying to compete with online retailers on price. You can't do that. Particularly if you look, the best example of this I find, and I get very frustrated with it, is the old department store model. In Australia, we have stores like David Jones and Myers. They're the best examples of this. They're trying to compete with online. Yes, they're setting up their online sites. However, they still have these massive investments in retail. So this just leads, if they're trying to compete with online, it just leads to a radical cutting of costs to their existing physical retail stores to the point there's no staff around anymore to service anyone. There's no retail experience, so people stop going. When people stop going, the sales then falter. The brands that once supported retail start pulling out as their brands can no longer be represented in the way they want because there's no one there to talk about and differentiate. And they need to create their own required brand differentiation somehow and end up pulling out of these stores. The business, as a result, just launches into a downward spiral until one day the business can't operate any longer and they shut down. And I think that's going to be the sad result of this department store model in a few years' time. However, in saying that, other smart businesses are starting up that are bucking this trend. They understand there is a place for physical retail, the golden rule being that you must create an experience that you cannot get online, that people want and highly value and will travel to visit. And that can be developed, and often it complements products. Many companies are taking back control of their brands and their brand experience, with many now opening their own branded stores, and we're seeing that in the shopping centres now. But the golden rule still has to exist for them to be successful. They must create an in-store experience that you can't get online. So if you're contemplating a physical retail outlet, you must think deeply about this. How can you create an in-store experience that you can't get online? So let's look at some examples of what I call the experience economy, which is huge, by the way, and the savvy entrepreneurs and businesses that understand how to create an in-store experience that people can't get online or, as I said before, complements their online experience. So the entire business benefits from the combination of physical and online retailing. So who are some of the best examples of creating a retail experience and why does it work? Well, the first one I have to go to is Apple. Apple have been amazing with their store concept. Their stores sell product that you can buy online, but most importantly, their stores are based around exceptional merchandising, education, customer support, and repair centres. So it brings it all together and provides enough of an experience and key service differential to their customers that their stores are always a hive of activity and excitement. Core is their own Apple branded products, of course, but they control the brand narrative in every aspect of the customer experience. Then you look at a store like Mecca or Mecca Cosmetica. It's deliberately built around things that are difficult or impossible to replicate online. The key differences are practical, sensory, and personalised. So, of course, in Mecca you can do physical product testing, probably the biggest gap versus online. So you can try foundation shades on your actual skin tone, you can test textures and finishes, you can smell fragrances properly, really hard to judge online, of course. Where online you're relying on photos, reviews, or shade matching tools, which are often pretty imperfect. You get personalised advice from trained staff. They're trained across multiple brands, not just one. They'll recommend products based on your skin type, your routine, your budget and preferences. You can ask questions. There's application guidance, how to actually use the product. So there's the education and training that goes with that. There's immediate trial and you gain confidence before buying. You can walk out knowing that shades match, the product feels right, it performs as expected. There's so many things there from Mecca, but the bottom line is the Mecca in-store experience is built around touch, trial, and tailored advice. Online is efficient and convenient, but it lacks sensory testing, real-time experience, and hands-on learning. So that's what the Mecca experience is based on. Then let's have a look at some men's fashion retail. A brand that I go to often is a brand called Calibre. It's a smaller men's fashion chain in Australia. But I built a relationship with Mark, who's the manager, and I know Mark has had a role of a national training manager. But I, as a man, I like to put outfits together and go to events, and that's not a natural thing that I'm comfortable with. But when I go into Calibre, Mark knows what I've bought previously, so he knows pretty much what's in my wardrobe, and then he'll work with that and then pair that with some new items that obviously he can sell. But he knows me personally, takes an interest in my wardrobe, and he knows the events I'm going to, what I'd like to wear, and he takes time to put all of that together and saves me money because he's not trying to upsell me on everything in the shop. He knows I want to buy 2 or 3 new items, but I also want to use what I've got in my wardrobe. So the trick there is obviously a high level of training across all the staff, and I'll talk about ways of doing that in a minute through role playing. But that's Calibre, and that's a service that I value highly, and it's certainly a service that I can't get online. Recently, when I was in London, I had a remarkable in-store experience with the online toy shops. We were just walking down one of the main streets in Mayfair, and this departmental style toy shop had entertainers and demonstrators on every level, creating a carnival type atmosphere that just sucked families in off the street and gave them a remarkable experience, fun experience, like demonstrating all the toys and had them working all over the place, and planes flying around and trains going around, and every toy you could imagine was being demonstrated with entertainers going around singing and dancing. It was just a real carnival atmosphere that just, different to just walking into a toy shop with no staff helping you do anything to everything being sold to you. It was amazing. But that level of service takes a lot of discipline training. And one of the key things I remember in my last business, Zen Energy, one of the key recruits I made was nothing to do with energy, and I'll talk about this in other episodes as well around quality management and building consistency in your business, but this is building consistency. He came into our business and he started role-playing conversations, language, messaging with all our customer-facing staff. So every conversation, everything we were doing was consistent. So we had this, and particularly in physical retailing, when this experiential shopping is such a critical thing, you need to be able to be having those same conversations, doing things the same way in every store. So it's a consistent experience that you're getting. So look, that's the key message for physical retailing. It absolutely has a place. The market is huge. The savvy entrepreneurs are making big money out of this market, but they understand you've got to create a customer experience that you can't get online. Okay, so thank you for joining me today. I look forward to joining you again in the next lesson, and we'll talk to you soon.